Hello and welcome. I am your host of What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing? Author Karen E. Osborne. I have 5 novels out. The latest is Justice for Emerson. I am so glad that you're here. This is a space for readers and writers to come together and talk about books. I am thrilled, absolutely thrilled to introduce you to Grace Sammon. Hey, Grace.
I'm thrilled to be back. You're just such a light in this work. Over 300 episodes now. Thank you for having me. Congratulations.
5 years and an award. An
Yes,
award. I'm very excited. So let's dive in.
let's.
This is her second novel, and she has written a powerful, gorgeous book that I had the pleasure of reading. It's publication day. Let's not forget that. It is publication day. So you're going to get to read this powerful, gorgeous, gorgeous book that we're going to talk about. It's called The Reliable Narrator. And this is the line that just like spoke to me. For some truths aren't hidden. They are just waiting to be claimed. I mean, wow. And that's what this book is about, right? So, Grace, let's before I ask you about the book itself, though, was this big hiatus going on? You wrote a fabulous novel, and then it would run into you and say, "Oh, what are you doing?" And you'd say, "I'm not feeling it. I'm, I just, I'm not feeling it." What happened?
Truth, Karen, is I burnt out. I wrote my novel. It launched like many of them during COVID. That was a whole new learning curve for so many of us, learning all the Zoom. Remember when Zoom was new? And we had to learn all
Yes.
that technology. And then right after that, I had this idea to write a 3 book series on writing, publishing, and marketing your book. And then I had 2 radio shows going, and I didn't keep in balance. And one of the things I would love to think that I can do at my ripe age is to keep in balance. And I didn't. And so after the 3 books, the Launchpad, the countdown to writing your book, marketing your book, and publishing your book came out, I was done, which is so funny
Mm.
because my first novel, The Eves, is all about a woman who thinks she's done and finds out she isn't. So there I was, right back, full circle, I'm done. And I thought I was. So I pulled myself off the socials for almost a year. I put both of my radio shows on hiatus, and I thought I might have another book in me, but I wasn't sure.
Then you did. And then you did. And your enthusiasm came back. Your passion came back. Your joy came back, which is just so tell us the premise, the setting of the reliable narrator.
Well, thank you. My passion has come back. And it's funny why I came off of hiatus before we get into the
Hmm?
details of the book is I love rearranging words and letters on a page. And I missed that. But you and I have a lovely colleague named Linda Rosen. And Linda had come over to my side of the coast. I live in Florida. And she came over to kind of spin her wheels and spin some ideas on a book she was noodling on. And we spent a lovely 2 days thinking about what could the book be? Where could the story go? And I was so jealous that she had that going on in her head. And as often I think we find as authors, when we talk together, we build on each other's strengths. And for whatever reason, spinning out what is now Linda's book, Abandoning the Script, which is out in March of this year. Um,
She's been on the show. She was on the show,
yes,
just so all of you remember Linda.
just recently. It was a great
Yeah.
episode. And I just went, I want that again. And I had had the nugget of an idea several years ago for writing the story of a ghostwriter. And what I wanted was a ghostwriter who was very famous, top of her field. And she was a ghostwriter for a reason. And that's what I couldn't figure out when I was noodling about it. And so the reliable narrator popped into my head and the enthusiasm came back when I found that Darby Small, a brilliant New York ghostwriter, was telling other people's stories so beautifully while hiding behind her own until her best friend from childhood, the vivacious, exciting, just over the top Phoebe Zaslav, sends her a text that says, "You have to tell our story." And by the way, Phoebe is all of those things, but she is also fatally ill. So there's a time frame that they are racing against death to figure out if they have the courage to tell their story.
Yeah, yeah. Both women are so unique and so strong in their own ways. So tell us what you love about Darby and what you love about Phoebe.
That in some ways they're mirror images of each other. You know, it's like those twins in Parent Trap or something. You know, they are so well suited for each other, but they're very different. As I mentioned, Phoebe is over the top flamboyant. Darby is hiding. And Darby is hiding and she knows she's hiding. She's at a very early age, she suffered sexual abuse, and the path to her healing, her mother thinks, is that she stays silent. So she is bred pretty much from the time she is 12 until the time she is 60 to keep that story silent. But I love her strength. I love her creativity. I love her love of words. She has a very quirky thing that I have no idea how it came to me in the book. She and Virginia Woolf's husband, Leonard, the very famous novelist, Virginia and Leonard Woolf are very much her muses. And I love how they come to life in Darby's head. And I had to learn so much about Virginia and Leonard Woolf as part of the storytelling. But they're also her muses, but they also really challenge her as well as Phoebe does. Phoebe has a very different story. She's also very successful. She's a great fundraiser. The book takes place largely in the beautiful North Valley of Albuquerque, New Mexico. So you get a lush, the book itself feels like a character with
Yeah.
that background.
Yeah, the
And I
setting is
love
a character. Yes.
So I think what I love about the two of them together is that they are each other's best friends. They are each other's confidants, not always because they've kept secrets from each other, but they are also, the story is deeply, deeply about the friendship between two women and what it means to be true to each other.
Yeah. And then eventually true to yourself, right? True to each other and true to yourself. They're just very, I loved both of them. I thought both of them uh, felt like I could like to have them over for lunch, you know?
It would be fun. There'd be great Mexican food involved.
It would be a wonderful, wonderful conversation. When you were writing this, um, did you learn something new about yourself, or did it remind you of something that you'd kind of forgotten? I don't mean just your joy of writing, but was there something else that you learned from them?
Be the best question I've ever been asked. I think that, for example, in The Eves, my first novel, I wrote that because I truly thought I was done. I wrote this character who thought she was done, and she, through the characters, learns she's not. What I found out by writing The Eves was I wasn't done. So much opened up to me after doing that. And I would tell you that even though this book is about these two women, there's a great deal of love, there's challenge, there's cancer. Both women have histories of abuse. Even through that entire writing process, I don't think that I realized until I was doing some of the proofing that my hallmark is, how do I want to leave my mark on the world? That's why you see these handprints behind me.
Mm.
But it's also about claiming our truth. You just alluded to that. I don't think that I ever hid big parts of myself. I'm a fairly transparent person, but nor do I like wear the t-shirt that said I was abused or this is an abuse story that I know. So I think there was something shocking to me that even though my words played out a dedication, where the dedication to the book is to all those who have already claimed their truth and to all those who are waiting to, I don't think that the book was challenged. I don't think I really realized, Karen, until I was doing the proof and writing the dedication, that I now am claiming my truth in a new way.
Um,
And I hope that I can always help others continue to claim their truth, whatever their truth may be.
Whatever it is, whatever it is. And we do live, if you just could tell from all of the novels that are written out there, we all have secrets. We all have secrets because we all write about secrets. So it must be true that
Must be,
we
there is
all
something
have
about
secrets.
secrets for sure.
Yes. And secrets can be very corrosive. They can show up in ways that we didn't intend or want. I think this book will inspire a lot of women, um, to just think about themselves, think about their own truths, their own things that they're hiding in a good way.
There's a core nugget in the book about turning your scars into stars. And I loved the playing with that. And Phoebe and Darby are these lovely characters, and yes, they have deep, deep scars. And I do think they're able to transform their lives into meaningful pieces. But I would tell you there's a section of the book where Darby is writing about those people who simply don't make that transformation.
Yeah.
And that was the hardest section of the book for me to write. It was, what about the people who don't have either the DNA or the family support or the friend support or whatever that cosmic godlike strength is to move past trauma? And that was really a hard, but I think important section to write. So I hope that wherever people are on a continuum of finding themselves, regardless of that path that brings them to finding themselves, they realize that it's a journey that takes a village.
It does. And two things I learned about that. One is that whenever we pass, whatever time that is, whatever age we are, you don't want that heaviness of your secret, of not claiming your truth, to be with you in those last moments. I've seen that make those last moments so sad, so, there's no peace. And the other good thing is, that's the bad thing, so you don't want that to happen. It's never too late. It is never too late for anything. The word TOO, too late, too old, too whatever, right?
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. And it was interesting to write this book because as my beta readers have reacted to it, some say, oh, it was really hard. It was about cancer. I'm a cancer survivor. That was a little too close to home. And somebody would say, oh, it's really just a book about friendship and that's wonderful. And someone else would say, oh, there's some fractured family stuff in there. And, then the abuse issues. So I love how it resonates differently with everybody. But as a hospice worker myself over time, I couldn't agree with you more. We don't want to carry those things with us, but also it just makes us so much more human if we can talk about these things. And I'm not talking about wearing the t-shirt that says
Hmm. Yeah.
whatever. I don't think we need to wear t-shirts about a whole lot of things, but I think for us to live an authentic life,
Yes. To
that's
live
what I
an
want us to do.
authentic life. That's it. That's beautifully, beautifully said.
Thank you.
So, what's going on? What's next? What's happening in your life going forward after this? I mean, I know publication day and just launching a book is like a whole huge thing, but is there anything else happening?
Well, Publication Day is super exciting, and thank you for making it particularly exciting. And you'll know too, I think, when you have the different hats that we wear, it's hard to put on, I'm going to go write for a few hours, and then I'm going to go promote for a few hours, and then I'm going to do a podcast for a few hours. I would like to say that having taken a hiatus, I'm in far better balance. I wouldn't say perfect balance by any means. But I am working on another novel and talking about secrets. It's called Honestly David. It's about a woman who is hopelessly in love and well married to a man for 30 years, and he's a pathological liar.
Mm,
So the tag on that book is because love changes everything except the truth.
mm,
But again, I think it's about living our true selves and also living within the parameters of those we live with. I mean, the character
mhm.
there very much has to figure out, how do I stay loyal and loving to a man I know is a pathological liar? Because all of this works, but this does not.
Yeah.
So that's been
Mm,
fun. I'm about 18,000 words into that. One of my fun projects right now is there's a wonderful organization called the Women's National Book Association, started in 1917 before women had the right to vote. And they have a very, very
mm.
active chapter in South Florida and mostly on the East Coast. And I am expanding it to the West Coast of Florida. We have about 20 new members about to join in, and we're hoping to have a very vibrant and exciting speaker series. We're working with a couple of organizations here to see if they'll partner with us. So we'll continue to, we're not starting a new chapter because the other chapter started by Linda Rosen, who we mentioned earlier,
Mhm.
is so vibrant. So we're going to expand their work over to this coast and do a couple of joint things as well.
Yeah, they
And then
told
the
me about the joint things because I was just at an event, a book event, book signing event, and they said, "Oh, and this is where Grace Sammon's." And I thought, "Oh, okay."
we'll see. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I'm toying with getting back into podcasting and radio hosting. I am guest hosting a couple of shows coming up to see if I want to. I have a couple of ideas for two new shows, so we'll see.
Wow, that sounds like balance might come into being a problem again, but it does sound wonderful. Does sound
Balance.
absolutely wonderful. As you know, this show is What Are You Reading? What are you writing? And so, is there some books that you've read recently that you can recommend to our audience?
There are two books. Funny, I just finished, and this is one I'm just going to throw this in there because I'm going to be widely unpopular. I just finished this morning, Theo of Golden, which everybody in the world is loving, and I would tell you I really loved the last three chapters. But I wasn't a huge fan throughout, but I absolutely adored the last three chapters. But the two books I'm going to recommend, one is a 2023 book by Kelly Barnhill called When Women Were Dragons. It is not my genre at all. It's listed as fantasy, but it's, Karen, what do we call it when it's realistic, but then the women actually do turn into dragons? It's not like
Magical realism? I don't know.
yeah, fantastical realism. I don't know. But
I
anyway,
don't
I
know.
absolutely loved it. The tagline on the front of that book is fierce, feminist, and fun. And I would say it was all of
Mm,
those things where when women were dragons. And the other one is much more within my genre of historical fiction. And it's older. It's a 2011 book called An Elephant in the Garden. And I picked it up solely from the cover. And
mm.
it's this picture of this beautiful elephant in this garden, and it's the story of World War II about the zookeepers in Dresden worried that they were going to bomb Dresden, and this woman brings home an elephant every night to make sure that it's okay.
Oh, wow.
And it's
Oh my
it's
goodness.
beautiful. I thought I was done World War II books, but this one is lovely.
Beautiful. Yes, yes. And speaking of beautiful covers, can you show us your The Reliable Narrator by Grace Sammon? It's gorgeous,
It's the
gorgeous.
beautiful hills of the Sandia Mountains, and Sandia means watermelon in Spanish.
It is really, it's a beautiful, beautiful cover. I know that all of you are excited now to read both of Grace's novels. You can find them on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, your local independent store, your library. If you don't see it, ask for it. Please go out, read it. This when books just come out, Getting reviews is so helpful. So if you're a fast reader and you get through Grace's book in the next couple of weeks, write a review on Goodreads, on Amazon. We thank you so much in advance. And Grace, how can people find you?
GraceSammon.net. It's down in under my name. They can contact me that way. I'm happy to come to book club, Zoom, live, whatever, author talks, whatever. I love, love, love to hear from readers. And like you said, my book is available everywhere, and I love to participate in this. And Karen, thanks for making my launch day so special.
Oh, I'm so glad that you were here. I'm so glad that all of you were here. And I hope to see you next week on What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing? Have a great week, everybody. Bye bye.